Welcome to a fine gaming experience, everyone. Brick's here with our favorite dung beetle lover.
I didn't see my beetle. I'm getting real upset. Hey, it's Ice again. Where's my beetle?
He just rolled on by. You didn't see him?
I must have missed it.
You blinked.
I blinked.
But we got some important, fun stuff to do today.
First and most importantly is our swank new habitat,
which I tricked out with Pet Seer. And this looks different depending on which time of day you come by. The sunset is amazing here.
What's incredible about this game, and this is something I have to point out to a lot of people who haven't played the earlier Monster Hunter games, is Monster Hunter went from the 3DS to the major systems, PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. And it is just, to watch it go to this extremely beautiful graphics level is just, it was unprecedented and a surprise for everybody.
The thunderclaps, the hoofbeats.
Kieran's a very, very special monster and actually has some interesting rules about it. Kieran's actually technically one of the Elder Dragons. However, we aren't even really dealing with the Elders yet. So Kieran sort of steps in a lot earlier than the other ones do.
Kieran is hands down my favorite monster out of all the creatures in the game. It looks unique, it fights unique, and it even, you have to have some unique strategies to even handle him.
I have a lot of trouble with Kieran. Kieran is one of my top 5 most difficult monsters to handle, but I'll agree, absolutely cool design, and not what everybody would expect for a really powerful monster either.
No. So many things happened here now that it's high rank.
If you kind of think about when they start holding your hand or stop holding your hand fairly early on in the game, this is kind of that phase all over again, where we're getting a lot of stuff like, hey, here's how to trap a monster, here's how to find new camps, here's how to go around and find all your different elements within the stage, like fishing and whatnot. This is kind of that repeated a second time, and very important, make sure you're gathering stuff, because this is the point where all of those little monsters that we were ignoring because we just didn't need their pieces, they actually start to count, especially if you want full sets.
They also start to expand on some of the things they touched on earlier. We've only had 1 or 2 mantles so far, but now they're really opening up quests for them.
Well, that troublemaker is going to make even more trouble if we don't get out there and investigate.
I like how they refer to a giant 5-ton T-Rex, if not heavier, as just a troublemaker. Like he's some, he's just a innocent little runt causing trouble.
If you remember earlier in the game, that's kind of how they referred to Anjanath. Oh, he's causing all this trouble in the forest. Go fight him. They didn't tell you that he fires nose rockets made of flame at you.
And Puke was a soft introduction to hard mode. Anjanath is a slap in the face for hard mode. I would like to point out I haven't upgraded my armor yet to any of the hard mode ones. And I'm going to regret it.
Always getting those ingredients.
This is a very important quest here, though. There's tons of new ingredients we're opening up just doing this quest alone.
Troublemaker.
Rabblerouser. That's what I'm going to name this episode, the Rosy Rabblerouser.
A Rosy Rabblerouser. That's actually a great name. I would go with it.
It's the best I can come up with for a pun on the moment. They've already used Tickled Pink.
Just wait until we meet one of those added-in monsters and all the ridiculous, hilarious things about him. That is something I actually wanted to talk about. That's a good time to bring it up, seeing as I've mentioned it, is this game actually has a very fluid life cycle as far as DLC is concerned, and the only paid DLC in Monster Hunter is the Iceborne expansion, and we've just started into it recently. They add an astronomical amount of quality life improvements and new techniques and systems, all sorts of great stuff. But throughout the life cycle, they added new monsters, new hunts, all sorts of different things that weren't in the game that are now built into the game as added things. They've always done that in Monster Hunter. This is not new. I will say it's a little lighter in World, but World is kind of a lighter game compared to some of the 3DS versions.
I did find it a little amusing how many times we were starting off Iceborne stuff, and little complaints you had before had been completely dealt with. But we'll cover that much later.
Much later. But we will at least be not so rusty. I haven't played nearly as much as Bricks here, so if I don't want to disappoint everybody, I probably... Wow, he just flew right past your head.
Yeah, this Anjanath is being very aggressive. He has a lot more energy than his previous form did. He can still get tired, but it takes a lot for him.
And I will say poison is actually very much a proven strategy. There's a reason why they actually have us fight Pukei-Pukeis before each of the Anjanath fights. A lot of it has to do with using poison on him because he's so evasive and so aggressive. It allows us to put in damage, get some little ticks on him, and in this case, we just use the poison cups to do that.
Now, this is unfortunately not the best weapon for me to use against Anjanath, not because of its type, really, but partially because I'm pretty rough with it. But Anjanath has a lot of fast reaction moves now. He can do a quick bite to the side. He's being aggressive and jumping all over the place here. A lot of the really good moves with this weapon require a little bit of setup, and I'm running into a bit of trouble just coming up with those easy shortcuts while he's eating my face.
Sure, be a lot easier if you knew all those guard points, but I've practiced with this weapon now for, my latest character. I'm about 14 hours into the game, and I will say I still haven't even scratched the surface. Yeah, I got lucky not getting hit with that tail swipe there.
Mm-hmm. We saw him leaping all over the place here, and...
Now, I will say, to those of you using this weapon, the ability to actually lock your blade into your shield to ditch your files is a guard point. So you can actually use it and wait till the enemy's attacking and then dump your files at that point in time.
I do try a couple different things this fight as well, like charging up my weapon, trying to use the axe a little bit more, but I think trying to be a little bit more varied in my fighting moves didn't help me against such a monstrous creature.
The big tricky part here is just you always have to put your files into your weapon before you switch into axe mode. The shield is effective. Just like that. Look at the damage.
Yep.
Oh, you hit him right in the face with that one.
And the nice thing, too, with that guard is I lost almost no durability on my weapon. This is very good for blocking.
Uh-oh. Man, he is probably the most aggressive I've seen him in a long time.
He is not making it easy for me at all, but like we were discussing before we started recording, Anjanath is quite a slap in the face for difficulty.
Yeah, there are some monsters that are quite difficult. Now, here's the thing. Diablos, who we've now seen, is considered one of the hardest monsters in the game. However, I'm a lance user. So when I first fought him, all my friends are like, oh, you're going to lose to him a ton. And I beat him first try. I think I might have carded once, at least. But just the shield gives you so many ways to just stop his damage. And so in this case, Anjanath is very easy to fight if you've got the right weapon types. Again, he's really good with guard weapons, but I'd say kind of your best matchup here is ranged. He's actually got pretty obvious weak points, and he's very easy to stun if you can hit him in the head. Hammer's also an excellent weapon against him.
Now here's something I've been wanting to show off for a very long time, and why I love Scatternuts so much. Now, that white bar indicates basically the stamina of the creature before I can start doing my mount attacks. Watch how much it goes down each time I hit him with a scatternut.
Oh, wow.
You don't even have to stab him with your dagger that way. If you're careful and only launch 3 or 4 of them, depending on the creature, you can immediately go into your mount attack, which is very nice. And one thing I want to point out with this weapon...
Great combo.
Thank you. If you have any files charged when you're doing your mount attack, they will go off.
That's actually really good to know. I hadn't even noticed that. Now, I'm just going to say, this is kind of the thing. If you watch Rick's fighting at the earlier parts of this video, and now as he's playing with it, there's a certain rhythm that you get with this weapon the more you play with it. You will start a hunt kind of going, wait a minute, what am I supposed to be doing? And then once you get the rhythm down, you can just do crazy damage.
And I had to change my strategy a little bit against him too, just because he was being so horrifically aggressive. I normally don't block too much with this weapon and instead rely on dodging, but the guarding is very nice as we see.
And the weapon's very complicated. They actually made it more complicated in Iceborne. They added an entirely different mode to it. Your axe blade actually starts spinning. It looks very cool. Ooh, well, this might be useful.
Now, unfortunately, they don't turf war. I would have thought these two would be a natural match for it. Unfortunately, Baroth likes hanging out during this entire fight.
I think it's about time everybody saw you in a really messy, sloppy, difficult fight.
I dung him multiple times, and Anjanath will go after and chase him. Now that's something else to point out we have here. The researcher was talking about it before we left. There are Gajalaka everywhere now. And they are basically more savage version of the Palicos.
Oh, that hit.
Yep. And they have a whole bunch of special attacks they love doing. Oh, that's so nice to unload. But right here, if you looked very, very carefully, they just shot me with a sleep needle. Or a sleep knife, and out I go.
Yep. And now the nice thing is, they don't actually care about you or the enemies. They will go after both of you. So if you can manage to avoid their stuff, it's actually a really good way to get a little assistance in the fight. And they're very status-based. Lots of poisons, lots of paralyzation, and yes, sleep. Now, in axe mode, you actually have very reduced movement. You actually move very much like a greatsword user. So you have to keep that in mind. And another small thing, which you're going to sort of notice throughout the fight here, is that while you're discharging those files and hitting those extra shots, it does tire out Anjanath. He's actually getting that sort of impact effect from the weapon. And Anjanath, as powerful as he is, because he's so aggressive, if, like I said, weapons like Hammer or weapons that can exhaust him or KO him, he's actually very susceptible to that. So he's one of the monsters I'd recommend going all out against, learning his patterns, rather than playing defensively. Look at that drool.
Yep. I was waiting a long time for it, and you're right. The impact files help a lot, tiring him out. But look how short that was. Like...
Oh boy, this is the rut. This is one of the hardest attacks to deal with because he will actually continually move while doing it. He can't move more than maybe 60, 70 degrees around in a circle. So as long as you position right, it's not too dangerous, but he will keep attacking. So don't get yourself in a corner.
And it hurts.
Congratulations on your field bounty.
Thank you, thank you. And I try to use his aggression against him here with the barrel bombs, as well as the paratoads. Unfortunately, he was too interested in Loki at the time.
Yeah, the barrel bombs are excellent against somebody like Anjanath, who's so aggressive. One of those added-in monsters, the one I was alluding to earlier, fights a lot like Anjanath. In fact, they almost have the same type of patterns. Oh boy, munch munch.
And it's funny because I just put down the one trap and then Barrel shows up. I get absolutely no chance to really use it.
Well, you got chances to heal up and not die, so that happened.
Indeed, it would have been a little bit more annoying having both them trying to eat my face at the same time.
And that's a big tip to everybody. Don't always jump on a monster the second you've got some breathing room. Check to see if you got any status ailments. Check to see if you need to eat something to cure a status effect. Make sure you're topped off on hit points. Sharpen your weapon. Those are the things that you should be doing when trapping a monster. Unless you've got a good opening. If this case, if you had full files and a charged up shield, I'd be like, ooh, maybe we should risk it. But those are the tough decisions you got to make on the fly in Monster Hunter, and why it's such a challenging game.
Now, one thing we should point out too with an aggressive monster like this, who has a lot of hit points, is moving around a lot, is that we can go back to base. So feel free to use your traps, your bombs, all these little things that will help the fight out. Because if nothing else, you can recharge and use them up, and it's great against guys like this. It'll be very annoying.
Great use of the Paratoad there.
Thank you.
And if you notice, he did a weapon change in mid-air, switch to the axe in mid-air, and that is something you can do. That's actually a special attack. If you hit your weapon change button, which I believe is 2 of the buttons at the same time, I don't know what controller you're using, but for me, I'd say triangle and circle on PlayStation. If you hit those in mid-air, it'll switch it, right? Or is it just
R2 for that?
That's just R2, okay.
And you can go right into axe mode from drawing your weapon by pressing R2 as well.
Oof. So angry. There's Baroth again.
Yep.
So close.
At least he's tired out this time.
One of these days, you're going to stop hitting with your overcharged files. One of these days.
That was a little surprising I charged up so fast with it, though. Right there, I was trying to store it into my shield, but like I was saying before, it takes a bit of setup to do some of those moves.
It does, yeah.
I'm just trying to live here.
Of course. He's one of the hardest monsters to face just because of that aggression, but he also has a very agile moveset. And very few weak points that are easy to get to. His head's his major weak point, and it's up high.
And I'm using a cutting weapon and aiming for that tail a lot, although I can hit the head with my impact files, so... It doesn't help when he jumps halfway across the map, though.
Oh man, those backswings. It is an amazing weapon to watch, I will say that much.
That's why I love my hammer, is that backswing effectiveness.
Well, hammer's your baby.
Yeah.
And so after this, there's only a few weapons left, right? There's the guns, which I know you know at least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be the switch axe, if I'm right. I think that's the last one, is it?
We got that, daggers, and the 2 guns.
Oh, gotcha.
So we are near the very end of my weapon selection, but after that, I'm going to go back to some and show off some of the new Iceborne moves.
Ooh.
Speaking of new moves, that's something Anjanath gets, which is incredibly devastating. Like, that nearly killed me in one hit.
And the annoying part is it lights you on fire, so you're taking tick damage, and that actually does KO damage as well, so you can be knocked unconscious, burning, and there's nothing that can be done about it.
Especially if he decides to chase after you. And we've been to what, like 6 different areas here?
Oh yeah, you've been the whole map. I'm just amused with this fight because it is actually, and I'd say when you beat a monster too quickly, we don't really get to see a lot of their attack patterns. So this has actually been nice. I know for you, it was probably a horrible amount of suffering.
More than a little bit.
But I enjoy seeing this because we're getting to see a lot of what Anjanath can do, and the fact that Anjanath is such a threat.
But this is us hitting hard mode now, so we're going to start seeing a lot of guys that are going to be a real challenge.
Man, he did not stay down long at all.
And even when I say, like, I'm going to back up and try to do my setup moves to charge my shield or such, I either screw it up, like, right there, or Anjanath decides to attack me in the middle of it. I don't know why that didn't work, to be honest.
You're doing the shield transfer that moves the files into the shield rather than dumping the files into the actual weapon itself. Wrong order. It's such a confusing weapon.
It can be so rewarding to master this one. I have to say, it is one of the most complicated weapons I've tried after doing so many of them.
I'd say this and the horn. Oh, the horn! I think we may have forgot about that.
No, I've done the horn.
Have we done the horn? Oh, we have. Okay.
It was one of the first ones. But I am eager to get back to that one with some of the Iceborne goodness.
You just like bashing monsters in the head.
I do. Even when we were playing Baldur's Gate and I would play my cleric, I always had a thing with just bashing people in the head.
Meanwhile, I've always been the sword guy. Swords and bows. Oh boy. Oh, I'm sorry, that was risky. You're sailing through the air and I'm like, is he going to be able to land this one?
I think this is one of those times, though. I only have one file, but you'll get to see it go off here, I believe. And it's only one file, but watch all the extra damage it does. After he's done trying to throw me off multiple times.
He really wants you off. Oh!
And that traveled up him there, if you saw, as well as cutting off the tail. Shooting the bomb pods at him is a little risky, because he could decide to come back and be aggressive again when I kind of want that resting period, but fuck Anjanath.
Agreed.
The good news is, Orphan Annie here is pretty tired, so I can finally capture him.
He's still going to be complaining about everything, though. There we go.
A little risky sometimes doing this near all the Gajalaka, just because they could put me to sleep or some of the other status elements while I'm trying to do this.
Well, you won. And you didn't cart once, so that's actually very impressive. You did come close, though.
More than once. Just look how excited they are.
Is that what they are? I'm sure they're frothing at the mouth in excitement behind those face masks.
Maybe they're just jealous of Loki's outfit.
Could be.
They really want the sun hat.
So all in all, I would actually say that was a fun hunt for Anjanath. And I know it was painful, but oh yes, during it, if you notice the question mark Rathian, you see that bar that's filling up there. That's because you've probably done several small missions off camera. But that little extension that was on the end of the bar, that was all the tracks that were found in this mission, and it's very important to find those.
Still in one piece, then?
It's kind of their way of going, hey, you have to do optional quests, you have to do hunts, you have to do explorations if you're going to want to unlock the next part of the game.
It's also giving you a opportunity to hunt some of the other creatures around. I don't have to go after the story missions. I could be killing off Toby Kadachi or some of the earlier creatures here again while I'm going around gathering tracks, for example.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, upgrades.
And this is an interesting one I don't use too often, but can be handy early on.
The Elder Melder exists for a lot of late game stuff, but she also serves another purpose, and that is to stop you from having to hunt down things that you have difficulty finding. For me, I hate finding spider webs. I hate looking for ivy. I just don't go to a lot of the areas where that is. So pitfall traps, which require both of those things, I actually end up buying from the Elder Melder.
She just got the ability to meld decorations here, so we can get some okay ones there on the right.
I noticed you had a Mind's Eye jewel. Lucky drop there.
Mm-hmm.
Mind's Eye is the effect that happens on the longsword with its spirit slashes, the R2 attacks. They pierce through an enemy even if they have a certain amount of defense. So normally your weapon would just bounce off, but Mind's Eye allows you to ignore that.
Something I was trying to show off during that fight there was charging my weapon, so it would be a little more effective, but never really worked for me.
There is no one in this game who can say that every single weapon they're an expert at. I don't want to talk about me playing the heavy bowgun. It was a tragic event, and I've done it multiple times because I think it's so cool, but I don't do so well. Ooh, new armor.
Yes, we got many armor sets we'll be showing off for the next few episodes. I probably won't be showing off all the high rank monsters, but I'll try my best to show off all their armor at least. This is just the basic Jagras armor, not even the Great Jagras set.
Which I actually think the hat's pretty cool. Little somewhat beret style.
It's some decent early skills at least. Nothing to really do backflips over, but survivability and gathering stuff.
Let's be honest, the skills are pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's a good, if you're going to go on expeditions and get certain items, it's not too bad. You can just kind of avoid the monsters and gather up. And again, the difference between the alpha and the betas is that your alpha pieces are going to have more capacity of skills on them. So they're going to have usually more skills, higher levels of those skills, and your beta sets are going to have more gem slots, so you can customize them a bit more. Keep that in mind when you're building a piece. Check between the two and figure, do I need this extra skill that's on here?
And sometimes that gem difference can be quite impressive. If it's giving you a single 1 slot and a 2 slot, but you're only losing something like a attack bonus 1, you might really want to consider that. I really like the look of the bone armor, especially the dark version, and the skills on it are a great starter set.
Yeah, very much based around combat. You get Slugger and attack boost, so you're draining KO. It's one of the actual nice sets that you can get that comes with Horn Maestro. There are 2 levels of that now, but there were originally only 1 level of Horn Maestro. They've upgraded it since then, though. That's a Iceborne edition.
The beta set looks very similar to the low rank set, but again, if you want to trade off some of those skills for gem slots, not too bad for it. Attack boost isn't the best, so taking stuff like the gloves might be worthwhile.
Now, attack boost is one of those things that on large weapons, like your greatswords, oh boy. The Bosswine Mask. There's lots of helmets that replace your base helmets. When you are playing through the game, you do need to make these decisions on what gems are best for certain builds. But big thing is that the attack boost gems work great if your weapon has low attack power but lots of hits, something like the dual blades. Not so great on a greatsword.
The Mosswine Mask is the only unique helmet I have right now like that, but the Mushroommancer skill is very neat. It works really good if you take something like the Sword and Shield and pair it with wide effects, so you're hitting everyone with it.
Yeah, and what Mushroommancer actually does is lets you don't have to brew potions and stuff like that. It gives you an upgraded version of what the potion would be by just eating raw mushrooms. And yeah, you can spread those effects to your entire party, and they are big, potent effects. I actually really like the butterfly set.
One thing I don't really get, though, is the male set has the beta as the dark one, and the female has the alpha as the dark one.
It could have just been a programming error.
Very much so, but the skills on it are really good.
Evade window is one of my favorite skills. If anybody out there is not a shield user, I say evade window is one of the most important things you can have on your character. It gives you more iframes, more invincibility frames when you're doing your rolls. And you can actually add another skill on top of that called evade extender that increases the distance that you roll. Anybody out there who is a Switch X user could probably tell that it is almost imperative to their playstyle. It's also very good on the weapon you're probably soon to be coming up with, the daggers.
This is the armor set we just got from our fiery friend.
Absolutely hate this set. That green and red is just blah. It's that color of green. Every time I see a card drive by that looks like that, I just get a little ill. So fluffy.
Quite an interesting difference between the alpha and beta sets, though.
Big difference between them.
Now, the skills on this one, though, can be quite interesting. If you look, we have 2 set bonuses on this, a 2 and a 4.
And the adrenaline... Go ahead and say what adrenaline is, because I can't remember it.
Adrenaline is basically when we get... I'll show it off here in a second. When we get low on our stamina, we get basically a berserk status.
Oh.
It's a stamina depletion, when we're low on health, but we also get more stamina, so we will always have a lot of stamina while using this set.
There's a lot of sets I don't actually play with that often.
It's good for some things, though, like the hammer when you're going to be holding up your charge for a long time walking around. Something like that you might want to consider this set for.
Fire attack bonus is really nice. You're actually going to find a lot on gloves and helmets. You'll see a lot of the attack bonuses. If you're playing an elemental type weapon, sword and shield's good with elements. Another weapon, I think dual blades is also good elements. Any weapon that's got lower attack power overall is really good with elementals. And we haven't really looked at elements that much, but it's really good to incentivize the monster's weak point. Anjanath there with a water weapon, oof, you can get some serious damage out.
Conversely, if I had taken a set weak to fire, I would have probably got one shot by that fire breath earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But another new weapon next time here, and we'll be taking on another new creature. So I hope you join me for that, and take care all.